She threw my newborn baby onto the asphalt. The paramedic's voice cracked when he said it like even he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The heat was 105 degrees, the air shimmering off the pavement like boiling water. And standing there behind him, arms folded, sunglasses reflecting the chaos, was Brenda Mallory, the president of our HOA board. I was enforcing community rules, she said, as if she'd just issued a parking ticket, not tossed a baby into the sun. My badge caught the light from the ambulance. She didn't notice or didn't care. I turned toward her slow enough to make the whole crowd step back. "You just committed a crime, Brenda," I said. "And you did it on camera." That was the moment she realized she'd messed with the wrong man. "My name's Daniel Reeves. 17 years in law enforcement, 10 of those in child protection. I've seen monsters hide behind policy before. I just never thought I'd meet one in my own neighborhood. We moved to Copper Sands Estates to give my wife Lena peace after a hard pregnancy. It was supposed to be quiet here, safe. Instead, we landed inside a little suburban kingdom ruled by Brenda, a woman who thought HOA bylaws were commandments. She'd been president for 6 years, self-appointed, barely supervised, and drunk on power. People didn't challenge her because they were tired, scared, or both. That morning started normal. Our son was napping in his shaded playpen under the porch fan, exactly what the pediatrician recommended for dry heat. Lena went inside to grab a delivery. In those 2 minutes, Brenda crossed our fence, ripped open the canopy, and started yelling about visible clutter. When our baby cried, she didn't stop. She grabbed him, lifted him up like a bag of trash. By the time I got there, the sun had already scorched the air. His skin was red, his little cry dry and weak. The melted corner of the canopy glared up at me like an accusation. Every instinct in me screamed to explode, but I didn't. I took photos, logged temperature, time, injuries. Procedure, not rage. Brenda smirked and said, "You cops think rules don't apply to you." I looked straight into those mirrored lenses. "You just broke the only law that matters today. You endangered a child." The neighbors whispered through their blinds, pretending they weren't watching. In Copper Sands, people feared confrontation more than injustice. They paid their fines, mowed their lawns, and stayed quiet. That was about to end. When the ambulance left, I stood over that melted plastic, the smell of heat and sunscreen thick in the air. Something inside me went cold. I wasn't going to shout or beg. I was going to bury her in evidence. Later that night, Lena sat on the couch, still shaking. "He's okay," she whispered. "Mild exposure, nothing permanent." But her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. My phone buzzed with a community alert and email from Brenda. "Incident at 427 Palm Drive. Unsafe parental behavior observed. HOA taking disciplinary measures." She didn't even wait for the ambulance to leave. She'd framed us. I clenched my jaw, forced myself to breathe. I'd seen rage destroy good men. Not me. I started documenting everything: time, temperature, her quotes, the paramedic's reaction. Paper trails. The only language people like her understand. Then came the knock. Mara, our next-door neighbor, held her phone out. "You need to see this." The HOA thread was full of comments, residents arguing, some defending Brenda, others calling her out. Mara whispered, "She did this before. The Donnies last summer over a sandbox." It hit me then. This wasn't about my son. It was about control, about a pattern of abuse disguised as order. Brenda wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was running it like a dictatorship. I dug deeper. HOA portals, reports, minutes. Every fine had her initials. No co-signers, no votes. She'd been acting alone, impersonating a full board. I told Lena, "She's not enforcing rules. She's impersonating a government." Then the landline rang. Nobody used it anymore. The caller ID said, "Copper Sands office." Her voice slid through the receiver, smooth but sharp. "Chief Reeves, I suggest you refrain from making false statements about today's incident. The HOA will be reviewing your conduct." I let her finish. "Everything you did was recorded, Brenda. I'd advise you not to contact my family again." She hung up without another word. But that silence told me everything. She thought fear would keep me quiet. Instead, she'd just given me grounds for a full investigation. That night, the desert wind rattled the windows. The heat outside was brutal, But what burned me most was her audacity. She had power because everyone believed she did. I planned to end that illusion. The next morning I drove to the maintenance shed. Eddie Torres, the HOA handyman, looked like a man about to confess a sin. He fidgeted with a wrench, eyes darting to the camera above the door. "She watches the feeds every night," he whispered. "I shouldn't even be talking to you." I waited. Eventually he said, "I saw what she did to your kid. I filmed it. I thought it would make her stop." He pulled out his phone, shaking. On the screen, my son crying, Brenda screaming about rules. Eddie's breath hitched watching it. "I didn't think she'd go that far," he said. "You just gave me what I need," I told him. "Send it to me securely. Chain of custody. Clean." He hesitated. "She checks my phone, says the HOA owns all maintenance devices. Then upload it to a private cloud," I said. "If she finds out, I'll handle it." That night, the video arrived in my encrypted inbox. The first real evidence. Brenda's empire was about to crumble under her own surveillance. Of course, she struck back immediately. Emails blasting the community about my unprofessional conduct. Flyers. Rumors. I stayed quiet. Let her dig. The louder she got, the guiltier she looked. But something changed in me. One night, sitting at the kitchen table, I caught myself staring at that melted canopy. My son's cry echoed in my head, looping over and over until I whispered out loud, "What if she's right? What if I overreacted?" It scared me how easily that thought slipped in. After years in law enforcement, I'd seen how authority twists people, how power gaslights victims. I almost convinced myself to drop it. Almost. Then the hospital called. "Your son's okay," the nurse said, "but next time even a few more minutes could have caused damage." Next time. Those two words lit something in me. There wouldn't be a next time. The next day I went downtown to verify HOA records. The clerk frowned at her screen. Copper Sands Estates. "That's odd. Their certification expired last year. Technically, they have no legal authority to enforce anything." I walked out of that building with the first undeniable crack in Brenda's armor. She wasn't just cruel, she was operating illegally. That evening, Eddie showed up again, pale and sweating. "She knows someone talked," he said. "She called a meeting, said there's a mole. She's checking everyone's phones." "She's scared," I told him. "Good. That means we're close." He nodded, then whispered, "She told me to inspect your porch light next. Said she wants me to find hazards. If she sends you again," I said, "call me first. Don't touch a thing. You're protected now." From that point, the plan changed. I wasn't fighting a neighborhood tyrant anymore. I was building a criminal case. Detective Lena Perez, an old colleague, met me the next day. I handed her the evidence video emails, the expired certification, and my son's medical report. She flipped through the pages, eyes narrowing. "This meets the threshold," she said. "State-level intervention." When I left her office, I finally exhaled. It wasn't my personal war anymore. The state was in. But Brenda didn't know that yet. The following morning, Eddie knocked again, looking like he hadn't slept. "She's losing it," he said. "She's rewriting votes, deleting appeals. And Chief, she's been spying on people. Every lamppost camera feeds to her private network." I froze. "Not the HOA servers." He shook his head. "Her own router. She even told me to erase footage from your house. Said it was evidence of violations." I pretended the lens was cracked. He looked down, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to help her. I just needed the job." "You're helping now," I said. "But I need you to sign a statement." He nodded, eyes wet. "She's planning something big. Said she'll clean up the community before outsiders ruin it." That was it. I texted Lena. "We have probable cause. Get the warrant ready." By noon, the desert sun blazed like a spotlight over Copper Sands. I parked near the clubhouse body cam on warrant in hand. Through the tinted windows, Brenda was pacing, phone pressed to her ear. I walked inside. "Good morning, Brenda," I said calmly. "By order of the State Compliance Division, this office is under investigation." Her laugh cracked like glass. "You can't just—" Detective Lena stepped in behind me, badge raised. "He's not. We are." She handed Brenda the warrant. "Any attempt to delete or alter data will be obstruction." Brenda's eyes darted toward her office. She bolted. We followed. The walls were lined with framed HOA awards, self-congratulations for years of intimidation. Inside her office, the monitors flickered alive, dozens of live feeds, driveways, porches, even kids playing near the fountains. She spun toward us, shaking. "You don't understand, they break rules. Someone has to maintain order." "Order," I said. "You turned a neighborhood into surveillance footage." Lena pointed to the screen labeled CS Integrity Archives. "That's the one," she said. Brenda's hands trembled as we photographed everything. When Lena read her rights, Brenda's voice broke into panicked denial. "You don't know these people, they lie." Lena cut her off. "And you spied, laundered, and threatened children. You don't get to call that leadership." I powered down the system. The room went dark. For the first time, Brenda looked small. Outside, the crowd had gathered, neighbors, whispering faces, pale under the sun. No one clapped when she was led away. Just silence. Heavy final. I turned to them and said, "It's over. You're safe now." The next morning, county vehicles rolled through the gates, real authority for once. The HOA office, once her throne, became a crime scene. State officers cataloged files, scanned computers, and voided every fine she'd ever written. People came out of their homes timid at first, then bolder. Mara whispered, "It feels strange seeing law here, the real kind." Eddie showed up too, hat in hand. "She's not coming back, right?" Lena shook her head. "She's barred from contacting anyone." You could feel the air shift. For the first time in years, the fear was gone. Later that day, the state held a community meeting. The courtyard lights flickered on as the desert sky burned orange. Dozens of residents stood shoulder to shoulder, not out of fear but unity. The compliance officer read the findings: severe misconduct under former President Brenda Mallory, unauthorized surveillance, fraudulent fines, charter suspended pending re-election. A few gasps, then applause, then laughter. One by one, people spoke stories of humiliation and fear. A woman fined $400 because her kid left a bike on the sidewalk. An old man whose tree was cut down for aesthetic non-compliance. When they were done, I stepped forward. "You all saw what happened to my family," I said. "But this isn't just about us. It's about how easily silence turns into surrender. She ruled because we let her. That ends today." The crowd was quiet, listening. "Order without accountability," I said, "is just tyranny with better paperwork." I turned toward Eddie. "And sometimes it only takes one person brave enough to tell the truth to bring the whole system down." People clapped this time, not out of relief, but pride. As the sun set, the state officers packed their files. The HOA sign outside the gate was replaced with a new plaque. Copper Sands Community, resident governed, in service not control. I walked home past neighbors who finally waved without fear. The melted canopy still hung by my porch, warped and pale. I picked it up, turned it in my hands. It wasn't evidence anymore. It was memory, a reminder of what happens when rules matter more than people. That night the air felt cooler, lighter. My son slept soundly inside the hum of the AC, steady and calm. For the first time in a long time, the neighborhood was quiet, and it finally meant peace, not control. Justice doesn't always come with sirens or applause. Sometimes it's just silence, the kind that means no one's afraid anymore.